Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Everybody?
Gail?
Oh, hey, it's Jim, Steve, Gail. I'll turn my volume up so I can hear you.
The band's all here.
Hmm.
Well, unless Craig's
Okay.
coming.
Yeah, we'll give Craig another minute or two. I don't know if he's able to join tonight. I know a lot of the instructors I work with are completely buried this time of year because it's right in the middle of the semester. Yeah.
And I guess spring break is over.
Yeah.
No, I think spring break might be next week, right before Easter or right after Easter.
Well, I think it was last week at UMass.
Okay.
Right.
I'm retired. It's all spring
Yeah.
break right now.
You're part of the Retirees Gone Wild videos now.
But yeah, that sounds like a reference that I'm not even.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, yeah. Those people on the beaches, I suppose. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just swinging their walkers around, and
That's right.
Oh yeah. Well, I do know some retirees who've come back from places warm and managed to catch COVID on the airplane flights. I think airplanes are the big vector now for catching anything.
we masked on our trips on the plane. So.
Yeah, you're back from somewhere and you didn't get sick? No, you're
No.
looking pretty good.
Couple days after I got back, I was really I felt fine the day I got back. A couple days after that, I started feeling down a bit. Uh-oh, is there something coming on? But passed after a day or two. So
Very good.
All right, well, that's 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and get started. I'll read my little spiel. So welcome to the March 20th meeting of the MLP and Broadband Committee. I am Gail Hundress, MLP Manager, facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating also remotely, we have MLP board members, Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, and Steve Schmidt. We do not have Craig Martin, Broadband Committee member, with us tonight, and we will get started. So first item of business is to approve previous meeting minutes as amended by Jim from February 21st.
So moved.
no, okay. Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Graham, anything to report on our hut?
No, the hut seemed to be behaving itself and happily sitting there. I have not yet looked up the door manual, partly because I'd have to dig through the specs, and partly because I realize both you and Steve probably know the part number of the door. Yeah, you have the door buttons froze. I once spoke to a door lock guy, and he unsolicited advice. He so cursed out ever spraying locks with WD-40 that I don't know whether that generalizes to button locks, but I figured before I sprayed anything on it that I would look at the manual. And because it's not freezing, the weather doesn't seem to be, the sort of weather that's going to freeze the buttons in the next little while. And then the other thing that I'm assuming I might be seeing in such situations is putting little canopies around a door lock just to keep the rain from beating in on it, so that's putting a fairing. I guess motorbike people would. Some people would call them fairings against weather. So that's possible that would make good sense on that little door lock. So, but anyhow, do you happen to remember off the top of your head what company made the? I know you worked out the button security thing most recently, Gail. You probably had the manual there, right?
I did, but I did not pay attention to the brand and everything. It's I can, this is not a rush right now. You're
Yeah.
right. It's not
Yeah.
going to freeze. And, you know, I don't know how much thought we want to put into this. It's the first time that it's ever happened.
Yeah.
And the day that it happened, the wind chill was wicked. It was like, you know, it was not only cold, but I think it was not like a rain moisture problem on the lock. It was just,
Okay, that's
it was,
interesting.
yeah, I think our lock is actually pretty well protected from the elements. Because it, you know, it does have that little kind of its own little roof over it. I mean,
Okay.
I suppose if the rain is coming in
Oh
completely
yeah, there are
sideways.
eaves. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got
and
eaves.
there's a little hood over the lock itself too. You
Yeah.
know, like the buttons are
To
offset.
displace rain. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
under a lip. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
the day it froze was just brutally wind chill cold, and so
Yeah.
I think that was the problem. If you'd like, next time I'm gonna make a note to just peek in our drawer and look at
Yeah.
the manufacturer for you,
Yeah.
and we'll
And
take care of it
the
sometime
book,
in the
the
next
book,
few months.
the book might be in the hut. Is that possible when
No,
you worked
it's
out?
in the file cabinet in the town hall,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right up
Yeah.
Yeah.
with our other documents, that file cabinet that's up at the top of the stairs at the end of the building on the second
Good.
floor.
Very good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. Particularly where it's an electronic lock, I'd be wary of spraying anything in there that
Yeah.
could impact the electronics. You know what?
It's not electronic though, it's all mechanical. There's no electricity
Yeah.
going to it.
It looks very mechanical on the outside. Yeah.
The buttons are not an electronic
No.
activated?
No,
No.
there's no power, there's no battery in it. It's all mechanical.
You got to push. You got to push them hard. Yeah. Yeah. You got to physically. You feel them engaging something. It's like
Yeah.
cracking a a safe. So,
And I mean, for traditional locks, a graphite based
yes, I know that's yeah. But
use.
the manual will have the book or online will totally tell. Obviously they're for outside, so yeah.
The other thing that could be done if this happens again is, of course, not that you'd have it with you, but a hair dryer.
Yeah, hair dryer. Yeah.
You could plug into one of the outlets on the outside of the building, it's right near the door, and just
Good point. You've got a hair dryer outlet right there. Yeah. Oh.
yeah.
Yep, I actually considered driving home and getting one on that day, and I'm like, well, I'll just try to like put my hands around it and breathe on it, and the buttons popped up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely we'll fix it right up if it happens. I think my biggest concern is the line techs have to get in there quickly for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
You don't want to
Something,
slow them.
we don't want to be like messing around with unfreezing stuff. So yeah, I will I'll get the manual manufacturer and model number and get those for you, Graham, so you can figure out what they recommend of if this is a common problem, graphite or WD-40 or whatever.
And it's true about the line techs, but this might not be the first time they'd encountered something like that, because they do this every day of the week. So
it sounds like a rare event that the buttons freeze. But I'll bet the door manufacturer it won't be. We're unlikely to have been the first ever. Therefore they'll probably have a procedure or they'll probably have best practice for those buttons. So the other
actually they might have a heat gun. Line tech might have a heat gun with them for
some techs do, for heat shrink stuff. They often it's the sort of thing, you're right, that they might have a heat gun, but
as long as they stood far enough back so they didn't
right, there would be that. Don't want to demolish the door. So anyhow, that was the other thing, just an incidental thing. I was going by the cell tower, the new cell tower, last month, and I saw the gate was open, so I rode my bicycle up through the deep snow. I walked my bicycle up through the deep snow and found a guy sitting, a cell tower tech sitting in his truck, and friendly guy. He was obviously in a, he wasn't doing much, so he was in a chatty mood. And so I asked him. I confirmed the fact that, as we thought, AT&T are the only equipment up there, and that the 911 people, first responders, first net, maybe they're called, they're tied into the AT&T antenna on the tower, and no other antenna are on the tower at the moment. The other thing I was curious about was the degree to which they can control remotely the actual antenna units, and he said they can point them. Someone can sit in an office remotely, so in the middle of the country, and they can point them higher and lower, so they can swing on the vertical axis, but they can't change their horizontal axis.
Interesting.
So yeah. And he said, and this is used to good effect in some places where, like, different times of the day when there's a lot of heavy traffic on a highway, say, that they will point, especially a traffic jam, they can be programmed to do the smartest thing at any given time. And they can also, if they're pointing out further, then they turn up the power as well. So they have those two dimensions of being able to control them. And it wouldn't be surprising if artificial intelligence doesn't eventually just steer them to do the optimum thing for traffic efficiency at some point in the future. If not, they're probably already doing that in some places. But anyhow, he's So that was good to know, and no one else is on the tower. So I'm glad that I changed to AT&T, and I'm glad that I used consumer cellular to get them because they're cheaper than AT&T.
So they could aim that right down at the S curves to pick up the heavy.
That's right.
Heavy rush hour traffic.
The traffic jams on the. So, and the only other thing while talking about outside plant is as I went by our splitter down at Lake Wyola, there is, as we expected, 2 poles there right now, and the power's moved on to the new pole, of course, and there's our pole, our old pole, chopped off just above the splitter, and it occurred to me that that it's a place where no one would care that there's 2 poles there. Gail, I was going to suggest that you just chat to Sheldon, ask them to get Certex just to say, is it like, I mean, it's got to be twice as expensive as an average pole because there's the whole box to move, but also there's 3 fiber cables that swing around and go into it. And if it's like, they should look at it. But if there's no huge reason for taking it off that pole, it's better to be on 2 poles because it's kind of twice as strong. It's not real likely to be hit by a truck and broken off, but while you wouldn't buy an extra pole to mount it on, it is just so secure on its own pole. And if it ever does get something happen to it, then it's better to be on its own pole then too, because you don't have to wait for all the people at the lake who won't have service while the other utilities fix the pole, fix the main pole. So anyhow, just a thought, Gail. If you can ask them, you don't need to get back to anyone, whatever their best advice is. But if it saves us $2,000, we've got a stronger and more secure situation with it being on a separate pole. Verizon won't be able to move off the pole either, but Verizon doesn't care. Verizon leaves double poles all over the place, as we can see everywhere in most places where they just don't bother to go back. There's 2 poles sitting down the bottom of my driveway right now, and Verizon's never going to come along and move that. So anyhow, there's something to ask.
Sounds good to me.
I will ask them. My only concern with this is Verizon and Grid complaining and you know, going through and doing the, well, Grid is done, but Verizon coming through, because usually they do the you know, they come through, they move their pole and they want to rip it out.
Yep. But
And
I'll bet they don't care.
and you're proposing just ignore them?
leave it there, and I'll bet you never hear from them, because they drive past double poles all the time. You know, they're just not looking for. They don't mind not taking away a pole. I think that's so if there's no surtax reason, and it saves us, you know, $1,500, and keep in mind that if Verizon ever did give us a good reason to get rid of it, it's still, you know, it's still a half a day's job for surtax. I mean, it's not going to cost much more to remove it in 3 years' time or 2 years' time, and putting off spending money for 2 years is money in your pocket. What do they call it? Opportunity value of your capital. So you know,
I'll ask.
yeah.
See
If they feel strongly to
see
get
what
rid
the
of it.
estimate is, and yeah, see what Sheld says about just leaving it. Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
mean, to
thank you.
me, it's not just the cost of the job, but the fact that really it's a more secure location, and the less we have to monkey with any of the equipment, any of the cables, the better, and particularly that piece. Definitely, you know,
Yeah.
don't.
I love it. I love it that it's twice as strong. As an installation, it's twice as strong. It's actually protected on one side by a pole, you know, so the new pole. So, you know, I don't know. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Let's see. Maintenance and service looks like we're holding pretty steady. I sent that to Graham. He did a quick evaluation of it. We had about 43 total tickets, 12 customer service and admin, 6 phone issues, and about 25 in internet and router problems. So same old.
Yeah. Average month, eh?
Yep.
Again, what does unknown? Does that just mean they didn't need to know who it was, so they don't? But when it's a customer service question, it doesn't identify anyone. Is it just because they didn't need to make a note of the person? It's just,
Yeah, it's either I don't know why it comes why it's unknown. I think the person the tech who gets the call in just doesn't put it in. It might be something simple like they just press a button and like, oh, you need to talk to billing, and then it's just gone. Or
yeah.
you know, they neglect to enter anything.
Yeah. Okay. That was what I imagined. But if you have what was I gonna? Oh yeah. So okay. So it was an average month, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a service call I think tomorrow. Mary Jo is having problems with she is one of the ones who has an ATA device, you know, to give her a separate phone line.
Oh, they're the
Apparently,
worst.
yeah.
We have a lot of calls about those. They just are spinning.
I
Really?
looked up why. And it's
Well, yeah, I'd like to some info because I'm not too familiar with it.
Yeah. I researched around on it because I heard similar things of people with second lines, and they are inclined to go out. But one person said, especially after power failures. So I looked it up, and what it is when the so you have a power failure and the power is stored, and the ATA immediately reboots because it's a very simple little device, but it's rebooted instantaneously almost. But it's looking for its Ethernet connection on the ONT. The ONT is taking a few minutes to boot, you know, or half a minute or whatever, a lot longer, and so it sees nothing. And depending on the brand of the ATA, it just sort of says, oh,
I give up. It just gives up.
Some of them give up, and in fact, the solution for a lot of people with ATAs is they know if they've lost their second line, they have to go and power cycle the ATA if they know where it is. Unfortunately, some ATAs were in the previous generation of you know, our they're buried in, you know, hard to get to, whatever. Some people don't know where their ATAs are. Interestingly, the use the Wi-Fi 6 is at least the Calyx one, the U6 has two telephone
Right.
ports, and so there would never be people would be able to get rid of their old ATA if they wanted.
Well, apparently, when we switched from Crocker to Shell replaced Mary Jo's ATA with one of their own, which is a Cisco unit, from what I understand. That struck me as sort of strange, but I guess is that the way they Shell handled the situation, or worked with ATAs?
I don't think that it's my well, I don't think they replaced any except ones that had problems. Did I mean, when you think about it,
Well, that's not what Mary Jo said.
well, yeah, I know, but Mary Jo, did she report? Was she having a problem with her second line?
Yeah, she is having trouble, and we just don't know where the problem is. You know, it's just dead many times, and I don't know. And I asked her to do a couple of things and report back to me. So because it's, you know, intermittent problems, as you know, are the worst.
Yeah.
Well, one of my friends has an ATA, and Shell didn't come along and replace it. So in town. So
Yeah,
so.
I know they didn't replace all of them during the transition. So
Oh, they did not. Okay, that's
yeah.
curious.
Yeah, but I do remember seeing other tickets of Mary Jo about her phone line. This is not a new thing, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. She's had trouble.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, what is an ATA?
An analog telephone adapter.
And it is for having two.
It's a second phone line.
Second line.
Because the
That's
ONT only has one telephone port,
Hmm.
and if you want a second telephone line, you have to get you plug you take it out of an Ethernet port, and the Ethernet port goes into the ATA, and the ATA translates from Ethernet to analog telephone. So it's a dongle. It's an Ethernet dongle in a way that allows you to plug an analog telephone line in.
Okay. Do we have a number of people that have these?
Yeah, everyone who wanted two lines. And it's not a lot, it's less than a dozen.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had one in my old home.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, but it's not this is not widespread.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what we're seeing so much of is going the other way, that people are dropping their landlines completely. So the fact that somebody not only has one landline, but they've got two in this day and age really was kind of surprising to me. So
It's almost all for small home businesses
yeah.
that want a dedicated second line. That was mine too.
Yeah. And it's a business claim on your tax, so you know. Gail, did your ATA give any problems when you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
did you have to power cycle it after power failures, or that wasn't one of them?
No, it wasn't power cycle problems. It was changing like, what was it? It was several years ago, so I'm having trouble remembering, but
But it was intermittent. It was an intermittent problem, though, was it?
No, it worked when it was installed, and then I think my former spouse got different phones, and then it was his business line, and then we had to I remember the plugs on it were messed up in somehow, and then like, you know, like the wrong phone line that was wired to his office was wired into the ATA. I was running around. I remember running around with old, like, really long phone cords and plugging all sorts of stuff in to fix it. And you know, I got it, but it was
tedious.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was not, and And then the 2 phone lines, you know, like setting up voicemail and things was not easy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I guess that has nothing to do with ATA, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's just confusing, you know, having multiple services going to one house.
Yep.
All right, financial report. So our budget was approved by the FinCom. So that was pretty painless. As long as we're not asking for tax money, they're fine with whatever we do, I think. We're still about 67,000 in the black, but we still have several months of our fiscal year to go. We have more income coming in every month, but we also have, you know, I expect around $70,000 more in these poll move bills coming in the next couple of months. So, we will. I'm not worried about our budget. We still have all that retained earnings that are available to us. We're fine. But we're not really going to understand our whole budget in a holistic way until pretty much the end of the fiscal year, and we get those big bills coming in from these poll moves.
I was going to ask you about is the cost of the poll moves still in the $100,000, or is it more or less?
Unknown, because
Unknown.
we don't have the final bills.
Unknown.
I am expecting it to go over 100,000 when it's all said and done.
And have the brackets come in?
I don't know. I checked with Bobby this week and have not gotten an answer yet.
Yeah, because all of the virtually all of the lines, well, not all of them, but most of the phone poles haven't been switched over from Wendell Road, or on Locks Pond Road. That seems to be the dividing line, and south of that or north of that, there's some have been the easy ones have been switched, and but the ones that are more problematic, they haven't been switched at all. So
Yeah.
I know they're working on it.
Yeah, I've been loosely watching it as well. So there's definitely more to do. All right. Graham, did you have any well, I guess this is a question for both Steve and Graham. You all set with your nomination papers and everything? And Graham, for your 2-year term?
Yep, I got my Steve, you probably got an email from Grace as well, did
Yep.
you? Yeah, it congratulated everyone in the town who managed to get nominated and whatever. So
on the ballot.
on the ballot, yeah. So I guess the 23 people that I got to sign were registered.
We're real people. You didn't
We're
make them
real,
up?
not fake people. Yeah. So,
Well, good. Well, thank you for doing that. I know it's rather inconvenient, but we're following democracy, and it's good to know that you will be back, hopefully, unless somebody wins a write-in, which is highly unlikely.
yeah, it is funny. You have to go and get 20 names, as we joke, but you could, if there was an empty slot, you could win it with your family voting for you.
Right. You could win it with one vote.
You could win it with two. Yeah. One.
Yeah. Let's see. Craig isn't here, but he did send me a separate email. I won't publicize the name, but he has some people in mind who we could ask to join our committee. What I have done is put a note in the big broadband task calendar that around April of next year, so April 2025, we start a marketing push to get someone on to start coming to our meetings and start seeding them so that the next year they can run for your seat, Graham.
Sounds good.
Okay. This is assuming that Steve and Jim want to keep serving. If that changes, let me know, because this is going to change our marketing push to get other people. So,
there's no harm in bringing somebody in ahead of time and have them appointed to the broadband committee.
Yep, that absolutely true. It's more of a management of time and timing of, letting them know that if they start coming here and then are interested, then they have a kind of a runway to be elected. I'm not going to turn anyone away, but I'm also, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not going to push for it now, saying, here, volunteer now, in about 2 years, you'll get an official position. That might scare
Well,
people
I
away.
remember the broadband committee is an official position. They're appointed by the select board. They're listed as a town, not employee, but a town, volunteer,
That's true.
committee member.
Yeah.
Also, in your talking with Craig, do you know if he is interested in?
I asked him that. He wasn't. He figures he's got his plate full. It sounded like he didn't explicitly say not a chance, but yeah. I said, Craig, I'll defer to you straight up, and he didn't snap at it. First right of refusal.
Yes, he said he would serve under duress if it's just going to go empty and no one's going to run, or it'll be an issue with a write-in candidate because we have no one running. That he'd consider it, but it's not his first choice, understandably. Let's see. I just wanted to mention that we did get our new insurance policy, or rather a revised insurance policy, for a 15,000 deductible instead of the 25. So we did get that. It did increase our policy amount, of course, but it was reasonable, going up from 11,000 111, so 11111 to 12,761. So I went ahead and just did it because it's a reasonable increase, and we need that lower deductible. For storms.
Yeah, and did you say that it's a new deductible at 15K? Did you say?
Correct,
Okay.
instead of 25. So
Yeah.
it went
Oh,
up
yeah.
from
No,
10 to 15.
What they changed it to was pretty severe, wasn't it? Yeah.
But the other side of it is, I mean, it's a higher deductible than we had before at 10.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
we have to keep that in mind in our future planning for our maintenance budget. So
Who is the insurance with, Gail?
The actual insurance company is Hanover, but it's through MIA, MIA, the
Okay.
Massachusetts Insurance something agency.
Massachusetts Interlocal Insure. Yeah, boy, interlocal is one of the I's, and insurance, I'm sure, is one of the other I's.
Yep. I just got a text message from Craig saying, I'm in Portugal.
Okay. All right. Dylan,
yes.
that's not an excuse.
Yeah. Well, he offered to join, and I said, no, just enjoy your vacation. It's okay.
No, that's good. Keep sipping whatever they drink in Portugal. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Because of course it would be what, 9:30, 10:30 at night now. So
Yes, you're right. It's got to be. Yeah.
So they just be having dinner. Don't in Portugal they do that? They have that late dinners.
Yeah.
All right, in other news, so yesterday I met with South Hadley in person.
Wow.
Very exciting. I actually went down because they had Calix in. They had 3 representatives from Calix. Peter, I can't remember his last name, Peter Steve, who we all have met, and then another guy from the South, who actually flew up, and they were doing kind of an East Coast tour. It was a very specific meeting about new technology, so I didn't invite you guys because I just wanted to vet it first, and see what it was all about. So Holyoke came. So Tim Haas and Jim Crowley were there, and then a couple of people from Sheld. So it was a marketing sales meeting from Calix, and what they were presenting specifically was their new class of something they're calling smart city products. And it is more for suburban and urban areas. And what they have is these new routers that can be partitioned off, and they can act like mini Wi-Fi public extenders. Okay, so imagine your residential router, and you just use your router as normal, and then completely separate, there's technology in there that is broadcasting a public Wi-Fi signal, but it's not entirely public because only users of your network can use it. So you
People
have
in town.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you have to have an account with, in our case, it would be Shutesbury Net in order to use any of the, we'll call it semi-public Wi-Fi spots that are broadcasted. It's not a great application for us because, as you can imagine, these are still residential routers. A house that is 300 feet off the road, even if you're driving in your car down the road, there's no signal that's getting out there. But in a suburban neighborhood, you can essentially create these big mesh networks. And so it's a big value add where in some communities you could, have just really great, super fast coverage no matter where you go and not rely on cell service.
Like mobile Wi-Fi is.
Yeah. Except again, not relying on the cell network, relying on the technology that's already deployed out there. And it's something that can be turned on and off at will. So users can opt out. They can say, I don't want to participate in this. There's no risk to them. Again, that the technology is completely partitioned. There's no way that, somebody could it's not like a guest network on your own router. This is a separate thing. So I think it's a really neat idea. I think it's got legs. Limited application for us. I don't think we would use it here.
Did Sheld or Holyoke have any excitement about it or see value? They did.
Yeah, they do. So yeah, it sounded like they're going to pursue some version of this. They also had some neat new business routers. So a similar idea in a that you could deploy into a small business like a pizza shop or a hair salon, where you could have kind of like branded Wi-Fi for that one little business.
Sure. Yeah.
So again, not applicable to Shutesbury. We don't have pizza parlors, I mean, I think we have some hair salons, but nowhere where people are going to want anything beyond what they already have. So it was interesting, but again, not applicable to Shutesbury. I'm glad I went though, because they were talking about their new GigaSpire model, that the one I'm talking about here. It's called the GigaSpire U10X.
U10X. Wow.
U10X. It's a full Wi-Fi 6. They have seamless indoor and outdoor mesh extenders. Some of them with PoE, so power over or Ethernet rather. So they say it's even better coverage than the U6. Let's see, what else did they say about it? I didn't get a cost.
Yeah, I was going to say price point.
Probably pretty costly.
200 bucks.
Yeah. But anyway, obviously fully managed. It does come with 2 telephone ports, just like the U6. So speaking of those ATA issues, this could help those customers. I realize this is going to be part of a much larger conversation, but the takeaway point is that there's these new routers coming out that are even more powerful. And I think we should probably really think about deploying these in our public spaces. The library, the town hall, the school perhaps.
Let me talk about the library as the next subject.
Yes,
because of-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because these are places where these new routers are going to be great for two reasons. One, they're going to allow for robust guest networks to happen. They're going to be lot more powerful. So places like the library, where there's outdoor, I'm talking about the new library, and I'll let Graham talk about this, but like there's an outdoor area. There's, you have to cover this rather large area, larger than a typical residential, and with more users and more devices. And places like the town hall, school, and library with limited tech support, I think we want them to have managed routers so that they can call for good help and support. Anyway,
I think that's a great idea. A great deployment yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and in in the short term, it's going to let us keep running these managed routers through their paces, and make sure that they're a benefit.
Gail is oh, sorry, Jim, you go.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Calix, of course, would love to come and do a whole big presentation to us about all of this when we're ready.
Yeah.
So, Graham, do you want to speak about?
Jim had a question to that.
The claim that they make is that they're more powerful and they have better coverage, but the FCC limits the power that these routers can transmit to, what is it, 100 milliwatts? How can you make the range greater? I mean, I just don't understand how they can make it sort of work even better or greater than their older router, when the power limitation is what it is legally speaking.
Jim, how about the phase steering on air antenna?
I suppose there's
that. If you refine that and made the band,
I suppose if it had a more intense microprocessor that could figure that stuff out,
they're getting smarter and better at that. I think steering.
All right, okay. I just thought I'd ask.
So before I talk about the library, and I won't talk too much about the library, but the U10X, did they say that that's already available, Gail, or is that a next year sort of a product?
Now.
It's now, okay. And sorry, did you say it's around $200?
I didn't get a price.
Okay, right, yeah, okay. So it presumably won't be too much above the U6 price, but anyhow, so yeah, as Gail knows, Marianne Antonellis asked me to if I could help with the technology design in the library, because otherwise she would have had the project would have had to hire a technology designer, and that's a couple of $1,000 usually, and so because it's a simple building, the Wi-Fi design is pretty straightforward, and where to put Ethernet, I certainly had suggestions with that, because you'll have Cat6 cable in the library in various places. The first question was, well, how many Cat6, how many Ethernet connections do you have in the existing library? Because you'll need to plug all those things in again. And she said not many. And so we figured that there are a few places. Certainly, if people are gaming in the kids' room, then they kind of need 2 Ethernet jacks for gaming as a bandwidth sort of a thing that sucks bandwidth, and a bunch of other places, and everywhere. So the library is about 100 feet long, and therefore for the library inside, it needed a router in the middle and 2 mesh extenders to one direction and the other direction, and they get Cat6 And possibly with actually, it's a good thing if we use a U10X, then and the U10X has 2 power over Ethernet things, then the mesh extenders don't need to plug into their own power supply, which has an advantage. But the mesh extenders, the U4s, have their own little wall wart power supply. But if it was power over Ethernet, then you would just plug it straight into the Ethernet thing. So
they have both, Graham, but by the way, both you can they're versatile, either PoEs or a plug.
Okay, that's good to know. So anyhow, the point that I made to Marianne is that and you can Google yourself that the Wi-Fi 6 and the Wi-Fi 7 are kind of obsoleting Ethernet. People just don't go places figuring with their Ethernet cord, figuring to plug into Ethernet. And most laptops don't even have an Ethernet port anymore. So it's like, and I asked Marianne specifically, I said, well, Marianne, how many people have ever come into your library and asked to plug into Ethernet? And she said 0, absolutely 0. And I said, and that rate's probably not going to go down, so, but anyhow, even with just doing the minimal Ethernet ports, we came up with about a dozen places where it made sense to put Ethernet into each Ethernet drop is about a $200 additional cost. So, but it's even cheaper than that for the library because the way the contract is being written, and it wasn't my suggestion, but it's a good idea. That Marianne's pretty sure she can find the volunteers who will run Cat6 cable. It's quite straightforward, and I'll be one of them, I'm sure. And I offered to install the router and Wi-Fi stuff as long as there's Ethernet faceplates in those locations. So anyhow, there it is. You'll all get the opportunity to come and put in a Cat6 cable if you want, I expect. But that'll save the library project some money. So that's a good cause.
You said 10 to 12 Ethernet ports?
Yeah, it's around a dozen. It might be just a little more than a dozen. The library has the reason it makes it easy to install them is because there are many areas of the library have acoustic drop-in tiles, 2 foot by 2 foot. You push them up, you can you can get to you hang the Cat6 cable on these hooks above the acoustic tiles. So it's presumably the phase of running the Cat6 cable would be just before they installed the acoustic tiles. Jim, your picture has frozen, but mine, no one else is frozen. Oh yeah, no, it's the sunshine. Okay.
It's just the sunshine.
Well, it's on both Gail and Jim.
It's so beautiful out there right now.
All right, yeah, no sun here, but yeah.
I can see it trying to poke through here.
All right, I thought maybe there was a mystical experience happening.
Well, it could be true. We're very mystical over here.
Our meetings are good, but they're not that good.
But anyhow, back to the last point, and I totally agree with Gail. Oh, and I raised it with Marianne. I said, Marianne, there is this thing called managed routers. If you've ever had reason to have problems with a router, and she said, have I ever had problems with a router? She said, she had instances, and in fact, the router in the library is a Linksys that had to be replaced, the one that was there originally, and that might have also happened in her home as well. But in any case, she related how she had had router problems, and a couple of people, helpful people like Craig was one of them, and someone else had come along to try and fix the problem. And it's like, it's just so much better to have a managed router where you can phone up. She was very enthusiastic. She said, yes, I want a managed router, because finding you, Graham, or Jim, or Craig had helped her with one of her router problems at one point, and someone else. But she liked the idea of being able to just call Netegrity and have them look at what her router is doing or not doing. So so there's a place where, Gail, if you can find out from Shell what they will need to charge for us buying them, just so that we don't end up, with a rush thing of, I think Shell said go to Calix directly, right? Maybe that was the answer. But anyhow, we need to get for the outside ones. I'm not sure how much leakage will go through the walls, but I'm getting Ethernet ports put on the two sides of the building, so that if not enough leakage goes through the slate shingles, that's pretty thin, but thinner than the hut walls, but signal doesn't go through our Ethernet hut, our town equipment hut very well. I think that slate shingles would do better than that, but if they don't, then we can install Ethernet on the jacks, on the Ethernet that are under the eaves outside.
Wonderful. They have some as part of this mesh system, they have special outdoor extenders made for outdoors. So, so many people are wanting Wi-Fi in their patio and stuff. So here it is.
Here it is. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here it is.
All right. And that would be ideal.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's keep talking about the library, and I know it's a ways off, but I think we should deploy these also at town hall and school if they want them. I realize the school may not want it, but it would be a good.
The town hall would do better on it, because every now and again on the Zoom meetings, the Zoom stuff freezes up, and it would be easy to prioritize the Zoom. If there's people if there's people sitting in the room, then their bandwidth is tying up the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi, and one can promote the with a managed router, especially easy. You can promote the Zoom thing so that someone who's who just happens to have their iPhone upgrading something or whatever, they would get second priority over the town Zoom line. So
yep. All right, let's see other news here. Digital equity update. So I got a fun little email from MBI saying that our municipality is eligible to be entered into the reservation of funds agreement with Mass Tech to reserve funding under the Municipal Digital Equity program. So they said, send us a W-9 form for the town and the name, email, and phone number of point of contact, and we will automatically reserve you $70,000.
lovely.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Wow.
This amount is subject to increase, but not to exceed $100,000. And or decrease based on MBI's review and approval of your funding. So it looks like the only things, basically they're saying, send us a W-9 form and we'll put this money aside for you. And then to get it, then you need to complete the digital equity plan, which is in process. We're doing our kickoff meeting on Tuesday with FERCog and Leverett. We're doing a little combined plan with them. Complete the submission of the implementation funding application. So after that meeting, and it's going to take months, but we will come out with a plan on the other side to implement a digital equity plan here in Shutesbury, and then MBI says that they will approve it and we get the money. So I'm super excited about that of these these grant funds that we could use. So this could be part of it. This would pay for these upgrades for the library and other municipal buildings.
Nice.
Yeah.
We send them a W what form?
W9.
A W9 form, okay.
Yep.
This is to MBI?
Yep. W9 form. So they are reserving funds for us that we will get if we meet the criteria, which we fully intend to do.
Yeah.
Meet.
I can imagine some little towns and some other towns might be not as well organized, and they might miss their windows of, imagine if no one was interested in town. Yeah. If one was in a small town where, where no one's going to write the report and no one's going to, do a DEI, a digital equity.
And what would this money be used for?
Unknown yet. That's
Unknown.
that's the problem. It's just, or not the problem, but that's the uncertainty, because it's just they're setting it aside. I have a feeling that what they did here was that they got that 147 million from the federal government, and then they knew that they were getting it over, I don't know, a year ago, and then they did this big push to have towns start planning and charrette processes. And then I think what they've done is they've just taken all the towns that have been on the ball and applied, and then just said, great, we're reserving this money. Just put it in to make sure that each town has some.
Right.
Okay.
Graham, I think what you said about there might be other towns that are not as well organized as us. I think you're right there.
Yeah. No.
And that's us is we know who the us is here.
Yeah.
Well, it's a group effort, and I think FERCog is going to be a big help with this too, because the whole planning process and the survey, it's going to be a significant project. So
Who sends the W9? Who's the actual person? Is that Ryan or?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yes.
They're already, the MBI already sent out models of, they already sent an email with links to other towns' plans. So it should be pretty straightforward to boilerplate, just to edit stuff to make if our plan hasn't already been put in, maybe it has. Okay,
No, we can't do it. We cannot just submit a plan. You have to follow the steps, which is why I have to work with FERCog to do a survey and actually figure out our digital equity gaps. And then from that, the plan is created to make sure that it's meeting those objectives. In my head, I have a great idea of where I want to go with this, but I have no data to back it up. And so I can't just say, here, this is what I want to use it for. Which is why we need to show. And I think MBI is being pretty thoughtful about this, of where they're like, you have to work with a consultant who's approved, so you're not just pulling information from anywhere. And then you have to show that there's kind of research and data behind what your ask is going to be.
I'll look up the link that showed the thing for a couple of towns that have already done that.
Oh there is towns that have gone through the process already, all the way.
And if one reads them as a model, then it's easy to do a it's straightforward. Nothing like having a model for what
Yeah.
one has to produce, and those models are there. So, yep. Okay, good. 70K.
Yep. Okay. The last order of business is, I'm sorry to bring this up again, but if you remember last meeting, we talked all about New Salem and the IRU, and we talked all about it, and we got and you graciously said, just run with it, Gail, get it approved by Donna, make sure it's legally all on the up and up, and it's fine. And we found another math error in the money, so I didn't feel comfortable signing off on it without running it by all of you again. So unfortunately, the math error is not in our favor. We had thought that it was going to be $600 a year for the maintenance, and it's only $290 per year. The error happened because they originally said $50 a month per mile, which if you do out that math, it's $3,480. Steve pointed that one out, and we're like, yeah, that's great. And then Mary Ellen came back saying, wait, no. That's like our entire maintenance budget for our whole thing for the year. That is not right. So we said, oh, okay, it's just 50 times 12, $50 times 12 months for the sum of 600. But no, that's not right. It is $50 times miles a year, not months. So it's 50 times 5.8. So here, let me share my screen so you can see the actual numbers themselves.
And there was another payment as well, right?
Right.
That
So
was
yeah. So here's the whole thing now. So the initial fee is a one-time advance of 13,920. And I did out all the math this time, and it's going to be in the contract, so there's no there's no questioning what it is. So $20 a month times 12 months times 10 years times 5.8 is 13,920.
Did they say whether they were willing to pay that year by year, as one of the requests Steve mentioned would be? Andy, is that a question that they've answered?
Yeah, and the answer, and the other reason I needed to talk to you about this is the answer is no on this, because they're going for grant funds for it. And
Okay.
so it has to be a one-time thing. So
No
same,
problem.
yeah, so same with the maintenance fee is so low that to save both of us on paperwork and remembering to bill the New Salem MLP every year, I added in this line where they can perhaps just roll this maintenance fee right into the one-time grant so that it's a one and done. We don't have to worry about it. It's just good for 10 years. They paid everything. But then they don't know if that's going to be possible. So I added this line. Otherwise, we will just invoice them, and I'll put it on the broadband master calendar of tasks. So the two things so the two big changes is that it's going to be a one-time lump sum for this, can't change that. And it's either going to be a one-time lump sum for this or coming in annually. And of course, it's less money than what we originally thought.
Still pretty good.
It's still good. It's still unexpected income. So I would like to
Motion to accept it.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We'll take a word vote. Graham?
Aye.
Steve?
Schmidt, aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll get this signed and taken care of. So the other thing that this relates to is, of course, our budget. We were hoping that this would be a line item in our annual budget for the next 10 years, but that's not going to happen because it's going to be just an upfront lump sum. It's not a lot of money. If you do out the math over the year, it's less than $800 for for every year over 10 years. So I'm going to pull up the budget again so you can see the impact that this is going to make. All right, so here's the budget as it was presented to FinCom. Here, I'll make this a little bit bigger here. There we go. So here's kind of the summary here. We still have this extraordinary and unforeseen, but if we zero this out, this of course drops. So our budget still looks good. It's balanced. We just don't have this ongoing source of income. Keep in mind that if this all comes through in time and we get this lump sum from New Salem, we can add it to the lump sum coming from the CAF2 funding here, the 44,190 back pay for the last 3 years of the CAF2 funds. And we can put this towards the poll moves.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Or towards replenishing our emergency reserve, which we're drawing down for the poll.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm good with getting this upfront because we, as well as the CAP2 funding up front, which we're going to get anyway, because we took a big hit on our emergency reserve this year due to the unexpected one-time cost of these poll moves. So to get something coming in as a one-time income this year, I think is good from that standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a highly unusual year, to have over $100,000 in unexpected expenses. Like I can't even imagine another time unless there's some year where we have, 8 storms all under $15,000 where this would happen. It's just so unusual to have incur this many maintenance,
But I mean, who can imagine the unimaginable?
Right. I never saw this coming. Like this is why we keep reserves, because there's probably going to be something else that we can't imagine it's going to happen. There's
We live in unimaginable times.
yeah, that is true. That is true. We just the best thing we can do is just run a high profit here so that no matter what happens, we can keep services going for affordable price. So an issue that came up with our budget that I researched since our last meeting was the legality of offering subsidies. This came up because now we have this line item in our budget for $5,000 for low-income households. It's going to be an ongoing thing every year, at least for the next 7 years. It can be offset by the 14,000 and change that we're getting from CAF2, but this is going to be a thing that at least for next year and ongoing we are likely to have in our budget. And so I checked with South Hadley and I checked with Jim Draw and Wired West and with Donna to make sure, like, can you actually do this legally? Because it is having some people in town pay a different rate. And so South Hadley says it's perfectly legal. They do it all the time. In fact, they're planning on covering their own town's ACP recipients through December. They're just picking up that $30 a month and doing it all the way through the end of the year. Jim Draw says section 56 of chapter 164, it really it gives charge to the operations manager. There's nothing that says anything about rate restrictions or equality or fairness in that. And Donna said the same thing. It's fine to do this. You just have to make sure that your policy and criteria for offering the subsidy is very clear and that everybody's privacy is maintained. So in other words, we don't mention who's getting these ACP benefits in any public meetings. We don't share or reference any documents that have people's private names on them. And we already know that we're not going to be the adjudicator of eligibility, that we will use existing programs like Lifeline to do that.
Very good.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And well researched.
yes, yes, I'm
Thank you.
confident on this one. So,
Yeah, good. Yeah.
So looks like ACP is going to run out. Next, what is it? It's March, so next month is going to be the last month that it comes through from the federal government, unfortunately. Of course, there could be a last minute thing, but we're not going to count on it. So I would like to make a proposal of that for our 21 households that currently are getting the ACP funding, we consider funding it through the end of June. So through the end of our fiscal year. So that's 21 households times $30 a month times 3 months is $1,890. So that's what it would cost us to fund all current ACP folks through the end of this fiscal year. And then that will buy us time. This will make sure that broadband stays affordable for those houses that need it. And then it's going to buy us time to see what happens with our budget this year, and how we're going to decide to use that $5,000 allocated for fiscal year 25 budget going forward. I feel like it's not something we can decide now, and I don't want to leave these households kind of like just in the lurch, like, too bad, no funding for you. So again, it would be a cost of $1,890 to get us through until the beginning of our next fiscal year.
If there's no discussion,
So
moved.
Yeah, so I just trying to think through the mechanics of this. So Sheld will continue to bill those customers at $30 less. So the same, so Sheld will continue to bill them at the same rate. But they will, well, let's see, how does it work with the ACP now?
Yeah,
the
great
MLP
question.
would give the money. Our MLP would give the money that.
But we don't give money, so
No. So Sheld has a line item for these certain customers that delineates that they are receiving the $30 benefit. And then Sheld goes out and gets that money from the federal government. So we never deal with it. We never see it. It just is kind of like something that happens between the customer, the federal government, and Sheld, which is very nice. We just never have to deal with it.
okay,
No.
so
Sheld will go to us.
Currently, Sheld pays us the full $38 a month for those customers, MLP, just like all other customers. But once this ACP funding ends, Sheld will be reimbursing reimbursing us $30 a month less for those customers.
Correct. And I think the easiest thing to do is that Sheld will just charge the customer less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're right. So these customers' MLP fee line item will just say $8. I'll leave it up to Sheld how they want to do it. I will actually that's not exactly true. I think I will encourage them to say we'd like just rename the ACP benefit something like you know, ACP continuation or Shutesbury stuff so that we can gather our communications, figure out how we're going to support this plan going forward.
Tidy bookkeeping way, I think, would be Shell has been sending that bill to the federal government. They would send that bill to us as a line item, you know, and then it would be clear what money what money was involved. I don't know. That would be one way of doing it.
I'm not wild about them billing us and then us giving them, like, paying them back again, because they can just put a reduction on the reports that they give us already, saying we charge $30 less for this, so therefore we're not giving you that extra MLP fee.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's 21 customers, you say?
So 21 times 30 times 3 is 1,890.
Yeah, but per month it's 21, so our income drops by 630 a month for 3 months.
Yeah, that's probably the most logical way to say it.
Yeah. Similar to like a vacation disconnect or that we get less for those customers for that. So well, yeah, I mean, this sounds like thing to do for short term. I think it's a good idea. So
great.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I think we should probably vote on this one.
So moved.
Second.
Sefton,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Hemingway.
Aye.
Wonderful. All right. That is all I have.
A slight little digression on technology, but my son was over in California, and I said, "Hey, Patrick, load the robot taxi thing, Waymo, on your phone, and then take a ride, and I'll pay for it." You know, and he did, and so he sent me a little video of this driverless taxi, and in fact, he captured a moment where someone with a person with a baby carriage baby carriage is crossing the road in front of the Waymo taxi, and it stops for it. So it was a nice dramatic little example of so
I thought they'd taken them off the road.
No, that was one of the other company lost its license temporarily. I'm not sure whether they might be back on by now, but no, there's about 1,000 Waymo taxis in and it's exactly the same price as an ordinary taxi. I asked him.
So they're making a big profit.
Yeah, they might make more profit eventually. Yeah, they will very soon make more profit because there's no driver. Yeah, no one to tip either. So it's a little cheaper for the passenger.
Not that. Yeah.
What a world.
Yeah.
The future is here. Yeah.
I'm remembering the Joni Mitchell song about why there's in the double-decker buses in London, why there's no driver on the tongue.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That was a good line, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that song.
Yeah, well, I think these all these things require such robust internet to run, right?
Yep.
Whether it's running on Wi-Fi networks or cell networks.
Your Shutesbury's first taxi will be a robot taxi. Might be a few years out, but it's not far out.
Yeah. Well, as long as they don't ruin my peace with drone deliveries, I'll be okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, indeed.
All right, well, if there's anything else, I think we can wrap it up. Our next meeting looks like it is going to be April 17th.
Okay. Motion
Right.
to adjourn?
Second.
All right, let's do it.
Aye.
All right, well, thanks so much, you guys. Enjoy this spring weather, and I will talk to you next month.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Good night all.